Hello again. I'm Dan Keller with Frontier America Adventures. If you've been keeping up with our Facebook and our blog, Shelly has probably told you a little bit about a haversack we're going to be building for a contest. In her talks about a bug out bag. So early Frontiersman's Bug Out Bag was basically this. It's a haversack. Back then they called them sacks, pokes. You ever heard somebody say, "What you got in a poke?" This is basically what they're talking about. Ours does not have the buttons sewn on it yet. It will. And what we're going to do with it now is we're going to take this bag and we're going to dye it using a natural dye. And then when we get done with that, we're going to get some buttons on it, probably some antler or horn buttons, and waterproof it. And then that way we can start building our bug out bag or our Frontiersman haversack. So basically, what I want to talk to you next is about the dye we're using. We're going to be using sassafras, one of my favorite trees. Very distinctive, its leaves. You'll notice it's got a leaf that looks like a mitten, and that's a real easy way to tell it. And right now they're starting to get their berries. So basically that's what you're going to be looking at. Now sassafras I think it's a great tree, one of my favorites. If you've ever had filet gumbo, filet is a thickener, and that is filet right there. That's what they use, those sassafras leaves in those cooking shows and stuff down in the South. Down in New Orleans, when they talk about filet, they're using sassafras leaves. The wood itself is very pretty, extremely hard, and I've built a paddle for our hog butchering that we're looking at doing here shortly. And this is so that we can stir render the fat into lard. And it's really light, really hard, really sturdy, and it's a really pretty wood. So that's some of the wood that's made from it. Sassafras roots are a diuretic. And in the old days, and actually still now, it's used to break a fever, and it smells great. So that's another really thing I like about it. What we've done is I have gathered leaves, probably a 5-gallon bucket full of leaves, of sassafras leaves. And when you do this, don't take them all off of one tree. I mean, you'll stress the tree like that. So walk along, drive along a dirt road, county road, wherever, excuse me, and gather your leaves from a little bit from each different tree. Same way if you're doing any type of dye material, you don't want to just soup it all from one place. So I got a bunch of leaves, put them in my can. You want to use a stainless steel can. Excuse me. Don't use cast iron unless you want to get a totally different color than what we're shooting for, and we're shooting for an orangish brown. The iron will cause it to turn a different color. We're going to mordant with alum, and what a mordant does is it helps the dye to stick to the material. So what we've done is I've had this steeping now probably for about 8 hours, and it's good and hot. And so I'm going to take my haversack, and typically when you want to dye some material to make it look really nice, you want to get this wet. But I don't want it to be super nice. I want it to be mottled looking, kind of as camouflage. So I'm just going to throw it in there dry. So we're going to take this and put it in there. You kind of see the color that we're kind of looking at this point. And this is really hot. So there, and I'm going to stir that around with a little piece of wood here in a minute. While that's going on, like I say, we're going to leave that overnight. Never wanted to waste a fire. I made some bread earlier. Baked up some bread. So it has cooled down now, and so I think we're going to go inside and maybe have a slice of homemade bread baked in the Dutch oven with some watermelon rind preserves. So anyway, stay tuned. Our next deal, we're going to bringing this haversack out and get some waterproofing buttons on it. So till then, FrontierAmericaAdventures.com. FrontierAmericaAdventures.net is our blog. Check us out. We're also on Facebook, Frontier America Adventures. Take a little trip over there and like us. And if you have anything that you guys are looking to do or wanting to do and want us to set up a plan for you, give us a holler. Thanks.